Welcome to Taste of Revenge. If you're into cold revenge and dark justice, hit that subscribe and like button. This story will haunt you.
They say betrayal starts with a lie, but I've learned something worse. Sometimes it starts with the truth. The kind you've always known in your bones, but never dared to say out loud. My name is Claire Morton, and the day I found out about my sister's husband was not the worst day of my life. Not even close. Let me start with the part everyone thinks is the climax. The part they gasp at. It was a Thursday. Rain tapping on the roof like it knew what was coming. My phone lit up with a message that made my heart drop through the floor. I didn't mean for this to happen. Please don't hate me. It was from Ava, my sister. 10 minutes later, I got the video. A friend of mine, Jamie, had recorded it by accident at a bar. There they were, my brother-in-law, Evan, and my sister, Ava, laughing, drinking, then kissing like the world was ending and they were the only ones left in it. I remember staring at the screen until my vision blurred. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the history. Ava was always the favorite. Golden hair, golden grades, golden child. I was the quiet one. The watcher. They called it jealousy. I called it observation. She married young. Evan was her prize. Stable, clean-cut, dad material. But that day, I saw him like I'd always suspected he really was. A snake in khakis. Still, I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because that video didn't devastate me the way it should have. Instead, it opened a door. A door I had sealed shut 10 years ago. Let me take you back. We were just girls then. Me, Ava, and our cousin Lily. Only a year apart, we were raised more like sisters than cousins. Our parents had an arrangement. One big family house. 2 wings. One for us, one for them. Shared meals. Shared secrets. But that summer, when we were 14, something broke. Lily changed. She stopped eating with us. Started sleeping all day. She'd flinch when anyone touched her. And then, one morning, she was gone. Just like that. Packed up, sent to live with an aunt across the country. No goodbye, no explanation, only whispers. She's sensitive. She needed a change of environment. She was always a little dramatic. Ava never asked about it again. She moved on, as always. But I didn't. I remembered the way Lily looked at me that last night. Eyes wide, hands shaking. Like she wanted to tell me something but couldn't. And now, all these years later, I was looking at my perfect sister cheating with a man she swore was her soulmate. And something inside me clicked. This family, it wasn't just broken. It was rotting from the inside out. So I started digging. Not into Ava, not into Evan, but into the past. Into Lily. She had blocked all of us. No social media, no phone, like she had erased the Morton name from her skin. But I still had her old email address. I sent her a message. Subject: Ava and Evan. But this isn't really about them. Body, do you remember that night? I think I finally understand. Please talk to me. I won't tell anyone. I just need to know. I didn't expect a reply, but I got one. 3 days later. Just one line. Meet me, but you need to be ready for the truth. She sent a time and place. A diner 3 towns over. Tuesday, 8 p.m. When I walked in, I barely recognized her. Lily had always been pale, soft, ethereal. Now she was lean, hard, sharp in every way. But her eyes? Still haunted. We sat in silence for a while. Then she said it. Not a whisper. Not a stutter. A fact. Uncle James abused me for over a year. Uncle James. My father. The fork in my hand didn't fall. My glass didn't shatter. The world didn't end. because deep down, I had always known. But she kept going. Ava walked in once. She saw, she left, she never spoke of it again. That part broke me. My sister saw it, and she did nothing. No wonder she was so good at pretending. She had practice. I don't remember how long we sat there after she said it. Uncle James, my father, Ava saw, and walked away. It was like someone had pulled the world out from under me, but gently, like I'd been floating on a lie for years, and now gravity finally returned. Lily didn't cry. She didn't tremble. She just stared out the window like she'd already lived through the worst and didn't need to revisit it. "I'm sorry," I whispered. It was pathetic, but it was all I had. She turned to me, her voice low. "You don't need to apologize, you were a kid." Then she added, "But you're not anymore." That sentence stayed with me. You're not anymore. When I got home that night, Ava was waiting in my apartment. She let herself in with the spare key she wasn't supposed to still have. She was crying. Not the sobbing kind, the soft, strategic kind. "I made a mistake," she said. "It didn't mean anything. We were drinking. I felt lonely." I stared at her like I was seeing her for the first time. Not as my sister. As a stranger who wore my childhood like a costume. "I'm not mad about Evan," I said. She blinked. "You're not?" "No." I poured a glass of water, sat across from her, then said calmly, "I talked to Lily." Her face went pale. That's when I knew it was all true. She didn't even ask what Lily said. Didn't try to pretend. Just shook her head slowly and whispered, "You don't understand what it was like." "Help me then," I said. "Help me understand." She didn't. She left instead. And I didn't chase her. I didn't call. I didn't text. Because I wasn't interested in excuses. I was interested in the truth. So I went looking. I started with my mother. I asked her if she remembered Lily acting strange that summer. She hesitated, then said, "She was always a little dramatic, Claire, you know that." But her eyes darted sideways when she said it. I asked her if she ever noticed anything off about Dad and Lily. Her voice went sharp, defensive. "Absolutely not. Your father loved you girls." "Did he love Lily?" I asked. She slapped me. Not hard, but enough to say, "This conversation is over." That told me everything I needed. Over the next few weeks, I started collecting. Old family photos, school records, medical documents. I found one visit to the ER for Lily when she was 15. "Fell down the stairs," it said. I found a police report filed by a neighbor that same week, reporting, quote, "disturbing yelling late at night." No charges. No follow-up. I also found emails. Not between Lily and anyone, those were gone. But between my father and Ava. Dozens of them. Some just a few lines. Others paragraphs long. And in one of them, my blood turned to ice. "I handled it. She's gone. You need to forget it and move on." That was from my father. To Ava. 2 weeks after Lily was sent away. The more I read, the more a new picture formed. Not just of my father, of my family. My mother knew. Ava knew. Even some of the uncles and aunts, I suspected they knew something. But no one spoke, because silence was the currency of our family. As long as things looked good from the outside, the rot inside didn't matter. I decided I was going to burn it all down. Not with fire, with truth. But the kind you can't run from. The kind that clings to your skin like ash. I didn't sleep for 3 days. Not properly, anyway. My mind kept building maps, threads, connections, little webs of memory I hadn't questioned until now. Like how Mom always avoided talking about Lily. Or how, at family gatherings, my father would make some joke about that dramatic girl if Lily came up, and people would laugh. And no one would say a thing. It made me sick. But it also made me focused. Because I finally understood. This wasn't about a bad man doing a bad thing. It was about a family protecting him. About a legacy built on secrets, sacrifice, and silence. So I started small. First, I called Lily. I told her I believed her, fully. No more hesitations, no more doubts. And I asked her if she wanted to help me expose them. She didn't hesitate. I've been waiting for this for 20 years. We made a list. Every person who might have known, every person who should have known. And every event, every location, every moment where the truth might still exist in the cracks. We weren't gonna just accuse. We were gonna prove. Lily gave me the name of an old friend, Rachel. She was there during the summer everything went wrong. Said she remembered hearing Lily crying one night through the vents. We met Rachel at a cafe 3 towns over. She was hesitant at first, said she didn't want to get involved. But then Lily looked at her, not with anger, not with guilt, just quiet pain. You heard me cry, she said, but you didn't come. Rachel started to cry. I was 14. I was scared. I was 13, Lily replied. Rachel gave us everything she remembered. Times. Places. Things she overheard. The fact that Ava was always strangely close to Dad. Too close. That once, she even asked Rachel if she thought older guys were more mature. We recorded the conversation. We didn't need Rachel to testify. We just needed her to remember. Then I started building the digital paper trail. I submitted a public records request for my father's work emails from the year Lily left. He was a public school administrator. That meant his communications were technically accessible. I used a fake legal firm name. Got everything sent to a burner account. Buried in one thread was an email exchange with a school counselor. They had flagged inappropriate closeness between Lily and her father. He had replied, "Teenagers lie when they don't get what they want." I sat back and stared at the screen for a long time. The counselor had dropped it after that. Just a note in Lily's file that said, "No further action recommended at this time." We found a therapist. Lily's first one, when she was 15. She was retired now, but lived only 2 hours away. When we visited, she said she remembered Lily, remembered the fear in her. But when I asked if she had notes, she said they were destroyed years ago. Then she looked at Lily and asked, "Are you safe now?" Lily nodded. And the woman, without being asked, said, "Your father was a narcissist. He groomed everyone around him to protect him, even me." She didn't say much more, but she didn't have to. Her silence wasn't protection anymore. It was exhaustion. At night, I started leaking things. Anonymous accounts, encrypted files. I didn't say names, not yet, but I left breadcrumbs, quotes, dates, phrases, and people started to notice. A Reddit post about quiet families and loud secrets hit 10,000 upvotes in a day. An anonymous Medium article titled "My Father Was My Sister's First Predator" got shared across true crime Twitter. They didn't know it was us, but they would. Soon. The final piece was Ava. I knew she wouldn't talk to me again, but I also knew she was desperate to control the narrative. So I created a burner Instagram account, posed as a journalist, told her I was working on a story about false abuse allegations and that her name had come up. Within hours, she responded. Panicked. Who said that? I never heard anyone. I was just a kid too. I kept the conversation going. Asked questions, let her rant. She dug her own grave. Because she admitted something, a single line, buried in a wall of defensive text. It wasn't like I wanted it to happen. I just didn't stop it. That was enough. Enough to show she knew. Enough to prove complicity. I archived every message and added it to the folder, the one I would release. I didn't want revenge, not really. Not the fire and blood kind. What I wanted was light. Unforgiving, unfiltered, unavoidable. The kind of light that peels the skin off a lie until it dies, gasping for truth. The file was over 300 pages. I didn't even realize I was building it until I opened the folder one night and saw what I had. Screenshots, emails, photos of journals, voice notes, message logs. The digital breadcrumb trail of a man who thought his secrets were buried deep enough to rot in peace. They weren't. I called it the quiet collapse. The name came from something Lily said the night we stayed up talking, both of us too wired to sleep. "You don't always hear it when a house caves in," she whispered. "Sometimes it falls in on itself, quietly. You only notice when the dust doesn't settle." I scheduled the release like a campaign. Stage 1, the anonymous leak. I uploaded the file to 3 dark web drop sites, posted it with a dead man switch. If anyone tried to track or censor it, a copy would go to 5 major journalists, encrypted but labeled in a way that made sure they'd look. Stage 2, the name drop. I posted a single sentence to an obscure whistleblower subreddit, from a throwaway account with no history. Principal Gerald Wexler wasn't just a manipulator, he was a molester, and the system knew. Attached, a link to the file, no comments, no hashtags, just silence. Then I waited. 24 hours. That's how long it took to catch fire. First, someone posted a breakdown thread on Twitter. Then a journalist from The Verge picked it up. Then the local news. Then the national. Headlines started mutating. Respected educator named in anonymous abuse dossier. Whistleblower files detail alleged systemic family cover-up. Justice delayed, the story behind the Wexler file. And then, the phone calls began. Not to me, to them. To my mother. To Ava. To the school district. To my father's foundation. And, like any house of cards, once the wind started, there was no stopping it. Ava made a statement. It was messy. Defensive. The kind of PR-crafted non-apology that only makes things worse. I was a child too. I didn't know what I was part of. She tried to distance herself. Tried to claim she'd been manipulated. But the internet doesn't forget screenshots. Especially not hers. Especially not the messages where she admitted it. The damage was done. Her job suspended her. Her boyfriend dumped her. Even Mom, especially Mom, wouldn't return her calls. My father? He vanished. Turned off his phone, deleted his socials. Resigned from his advisory board for personal reasons. But silence wasn't safety anymore. A journalist tracked him to a lake house 2 states over. Tried to ask questions. He slammed the door. But the article went live anyway. The principal who disappeared. And that was the moment it stopped being a story. It became a movement. Survivors came forward. Not just from our family. From his former schools, students, assistants, a substitute teacher who remembered him cornering her during a snow day. All the stories lined up. All the timelines matched. And no one, not one person, had spoken until now. Because no one thought they'd be believed. And then Lily did the bravest thing I've ever seen. She went on record, used her real name. Face, voice, everything. She gave an interview to The Guardian. Told them what happened. Told them what she remembered. Told them what it cost her. And at the end, she looked into the camera and said, "I'm not broken anymore. I'm done carrying his sins." We watched it together. Me, Lily, and Rachel. We didn't talk while it played. We didn't cry. We just sat there. And when it ended, Lily took a deep breath, leaned back, and whispered, "It's quiet." I nodded, but not collapsed. She smiled. Not anymore. For weeks, my mother said nothing. No press release, no public statement. Just silence. She disappeared behind drawn blinds, her home phone off the hook, her inbox ignored. Friends dropped away like leaves in a storm. But I knew better. I knew the silence wasn't surrender. It was preparation. And I wasn't going to let her rebuild this lie again. I waited until the third week, when the dust seemed to settle, when people stopped knocking on her door and started whispering instead. When the public moved on, but the survivors hadn't. That's when I visited. She answered the door in a beige cardigan I hadn't seen since childhood. The kind she wore on parent-teacher nights. Soft, forgettable, like she wanted to vanish into the wallpaper of the world. "Claire," she said. No hug, no surprise. Just my name, flat and hollow. "I know," I said. She stepped aside, wordless. The house still smelled the same. Cinnamon air fresheners and carefully curated shame. We sat at the kitchen table, the same one where she used to lay out our science projects and spelling lists. The same table where she sat with Ava, explaining why Daddy's rules were different. She offered me tea. I declined. I didn't want comfort. I wanted clarity. "You knew," I said. Her face didn't change. "You always knew. About Ava, about what he did to Lily, and you let it happen." She didn't deny it. Instead, she reached for the sugar jar with shaking fingers, stared at it like it held answers. "I didn't know everything," she said, voice quiet. "But you knew enough. I thought I was protecting you." My laugh was bitter and fast. "From what? The truth?" "No," she whispered. "From him." She told me everything. How she found a journal once. Not mine, not Ava's, but Lily's. Half drawings, half pain. A child's attempt to document horror with crayons and metaphors. She confronted him. He said it was imagination, nightmares, the result of trauma from a neighbor's dog attack. He cried, and she believed him. Or, more accurately, she chose to believe him. Because the alternative would have shattered everything she built her identity around. So she did what cowards do. She cleaned up the journal, replaced it with a new one, told Lily she'd had a bad dream, and started pretending harder than ever. I didn't cry while she spoke. I didn't shout. I just stared at her. This woman who had built a home out of pretense and expectation. This woman who'd taught me to smile through discomfort and to be, quote, for stability. She didn't protect us. She preserved him. And now she wanted forgiveness without reckoning. "I'm sorry," she said. But it wasn't enough. Not anymore. "You're not the victim here," I told her. And I left her sitting in her silent kitchen, clutching a mug she didn't sip from, as if it was the only thing anchoring her to reality. The story didn't end there. These stories never do. Because healing isn't a finale. It's a slow, uneven walk through ruin. Ava moved to Oregon. Last I heard, she was working at a co-op and going by a middle name no one in the family ever used. I don't think she'll ever face what she did. Not really, but at least she's not fooling anyone anymore. My father? He tried to sue one of the publications for defamation. The case was laughed out of court. Then the IRS started poking into his finances. He's quiet now, permanently. I don't need an obituary to know when a man like him disappears for good. Lily stayed. Not because she had to. Because she chose to. We started meeting once a week. No therapy talk, no big emotional breakthroughs. Sometimes we just watched old movies. Other nights we sat in silence, side by side, listening to rain hit the windows like applause for surviving. One night she brought a small box. Inside, the old journal. The one Mom swore she'd thrown away. "I found it taped behind a drawer," Lily said. I opened it carefully, fingers trembling like a prayer. Crayon monsters, scribbled screams, a page near the middle with the word "stop" written 47 times. And at the end, a drawing of 3 girls holding hands, labeled "us." "I think she wanted to believe we'd save each other," I whispered. Lily didn't answer. She didn't have to, because somehow we had. The fallout didn't come in flames. It came in quiet. No police raid, no court trial, no perfect Netflix ending. just silence. Phone numbers changed, locks replaced, chairs left empty at family dinners that would never happen again. But in the silence, something unexpected began to bloom. Not peace, not yet, but clarity. And with clarity came choices. One of the first things I did was burn the letters. Not out of spite, but ceremony. Dozens of them, handwritten, folded, saved. Old apologies from Ava, half lies wrapped in nostalgia. Notes from Mom telling me to let things go. Even a card from Dad once on my 21st birthday, unsigned, as if the envelope had sealed itself. They'd all been kept in a shoebox under my bed for years. I don't know why. Maybe because I thought I might need proof one day that none of this was new. But fire doesn't care about proof. And watching them turn to ash was the closest thing to liberation I'd felt in years. The hardest part wasn't confronting them. It was confronting myself. What I'd ignored. What I'd let slide. What I'd become in order to survive. There's this lie people tell you that survivors are strong. That just because you're still standing, it means you're okay. But survival is its own kind of damage. You become sharp in places you used to be soft. You learn to flinch before you feel. You don't trust joy unless it apologizes first. I started therapy. Not the cute kind with aromatherapy and yoga mats. The kind where you sit across from someone with eyes too kind and ask them to hold your secrets without flinching. At first, I didn't speak much. Then I spoke too much. Eventually, I found rhythm in the wreckage. I stopped using foundation every day. I let my hair go its natural shade for the first time since I was 16. I deleted half my social media. I got a tattoo. Not something dramatic, just a small constellation on my wrist. Lily said it looked like our initials. Maybe it did. Or maybe I just needed a map of something unbroken. People don't understand what family means until they've had to rebuild it from scratch. The world keeps telling you to forgive, to reconnect, to find your roots. But what if the roots are poison? What if your family tree is more rot than branch? Some trees aren't meant to be climbed. They're meant to be cut down and used to build something better. I found a new version of home in strange places. A neighbor who brought soup without asking questions. An old college friend who showed up with wine and didn't need me to talk. A rescue dog named Miso who trembled for a week before finally sleeping at my feet. Little things, but real, honest, alive. Lily started painting. She never said it was therapy. She just called it getting the colors out. Her apartment slowly turned into a gallery of heartbreak and hope. One canvas, though, stood out. It was a storm, fierce, chaotic. But in the bottom corner, barely visible, were 3 figures standing under one umbrella. No faces, just outlines. Still holding on. Still together. And Ava? I stopped asking. Stopped wondering. Some people heal by returning, others by disappearing. I had to accept that her path wasn't mine to fix or follow. The last time I saw Mom, it wasn't planned. I was walking home from work. She was sitting alone at a park bench, feeding birds with pieces of crust from a sandwich she probably wasn't eating. She looked older. Not in the way wrinkles make you old, but in the way silence does. I didn't approach. She didn't look up. But as I passed, she spoke, barely above the wind. I loved all of you. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't enough. But it was something. Back home, I lit a candle. The scent was called Ember. It smelled like closure. 3 months passed. I didn't count the days. That part of me was gone, the one who tracked every hour between heartbreak and recovery. Now I measured life in new ways. How many days I woke up without flinching. How long I could hold someone's gaze without doubting myself. How many nights I went to bed without feeling like I owed the world an explanation. Then, out of nowhere, a letter arrived. Handwritten. no return address. I nearly threw it out. Bills, junk, catalogs. But something about the script stopped me. Tight loops, nervous pen pressure, like the person writing it was afraid of the paper. I opened it. One line. You don't know everything. No name, no context, just that. It could have been spam, a prank, a mistake. But I knew. It was Ava. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She didn't even ask to talk. Instead, the next envelope arrived a week later. This one had photos. Black and white, grainy, old. 2 girls on a porch, one holding a stuffed lion, the other with a scrape on her knee and a smile too big for her face. Us. Before it all. Before lies and lovers and shame. Before family became a word we whispered instead of war with pride. I don't know why she sent them. Maybe guilt. Maybe defiance. Or maybe she wanted me to remember that we weren't always fire and ruin. There was a time we were just 2 little girls who thought the world could be good if only we stayed close enough. But memory is tricky. It smooths the rough edges of the past and calls it love. And I wasn't ready to forget the jagged truth beneath those photographs. Still, I didn't throw them away. I placed them in a drawer, top left, the one I only open when I feel brave. One night, I visited Lily. She was halfway through painting what she called her last canvas. "It's too quiet now," she said. "Like I got all the noise out and there's nothing left to say." I knew the feeling. But as I looked at the unfinished painting, a girl standing alone in the middle of a cracked road, barefoot, holding a single match, I realized something. The end of noise isn't silence. It's peace. That's when I made my decision. To write. To take everything I'd buried and pour it into pages. No names, no details, just truth. Raw, crooked, unforgiving. Not for them, for me. So that if someone else ever finds themselves at the edge, halfway between betrayal and rebirth, they'll know they're not alone. I titled it The Sister Scar, because some wounds don't bleed. They echo, and every echo deserves a voice. 3 weeks after the last letter, Ava called. I didn't answer the first time, or the second. But the third time, at 2:17 in the morning, something told me to pick up. Silence on the other end. No breath, no static. Just a heartbeat I swore I could hear between us. "Ava?" I said. She exhaled. "I think someone's watching me." It wasn't what I expected. Not an apology, not a confession. Just that sentence, small, cracked, and terrified. Who? I don't know, but weird things keep happening. My door was open when I got home. My voicemail was full of static recordings, and last night, someone left an envelope. I sat up in bed. What was inside? Nothing, just a note, like the ones I sent you, but it said, "Truth rots slower than blood." A shiver slid down my spine. "Are you in danger?" I don't know, but I think Mom lied to both of us, about more than just the affair, about Dad. That name, that ghost of a word. I hadn't spoken it in years. Not since Mom said he left when I was 6, that he couldn't handle the pressure, that he was weak, unreliable, forgettable. But something about Ava's voice. It felt like she was pulling at a thread sewn into both of our lives. "What are you saying?" I asked. "I think he didn't leave. I think he was taken." The next day, I drove 4 hours to Ava's apartment. It was a mess. Not chaotic, not dirty, just hollow, as if she had taken the important pieces and left the rest behind. She didn't speak much, just handed me a file folder. Inside were news clippings, scans of hospital bills, a blurry police report dated 1997. My eyes locked onto one detail. Missing person, Jonathan R. Calloway. Calloway. Our mother's maiden name. Our father never left. He vanished. And Mom scrubbed him from our history. We didn't speak for a long time. just sat there, side by side, as old truths shifted like plates beneath our feet. Finally, Ava whispered, "I think she knew. I think she lied to protect herself. Or maybe to protect us." I looked at her, at the scar near her temple, at the tired circles beneath her eyes, at the girl who'd betrayed me, and the woman who was trying to piece it all together. "I don't forgive you," I said. She nodded. "I don't expect you to. But I'm not walking away yet." She didn't cry. She just took my hand, the way she did when we were kids, and held it like a question she wasn't sure I'd answer. I didn't pull away. We spent the next few days digging. Old school archives, birth certificates, psychiatric holds. What we uncovered didn't feel real. Jonathan Calloway was a research assistant in a neuropsych lab at a private institute outside Boston. One that shut down suddenly in the fall of '97 after an internal investigation. No charges filed, no explanation given. Just a phrase we kept seeing in redacted pages: long-term personality displacement. "What the hell is that?" Ava asked, flipping through the pages. I didn't know, but the more we read, the more I understood something chilling. Our father didn't disappear. He was erased. We found one man, a janitor from the institute, who had written a cryptic blog back in 2009, still alive, still living in Massachusetts. His name was Ellis. He agreed to meet us in a diner off I-90. "You're his girls?" he asked, eyes narrowing. "You look like him." "What happened?" I asked. He took a long sip of coffee and said he volunteered for something, a memory trial. They said it was safe, just temporary. But it wasn't. He started confusing past and present, calling strangers by your names. He thought he was living 3 lives at once. "And then?" Ava asked. "They shut it all down. One night, the lab was cleared out. Files burned. Staff disappeared. And your dad?" He leaned forward. "They said he had a breakdown, but I saw him, calm, focused, like someone had flipped a switch." "What did he say?" Ellis looked at both of us, then whispered. "He said the real experiment wasn't on him. It was on you." The air collapsed between us. "What does that mean?" I asked, barely breathing. Ellis stood, tossed a 20 on the table. "That's all I know. But if you're smart, you'll stop digging." He left. We sat there, stunned. Ava pulled out her phone and whispered, "I think we were born into a story we never agreed to be part of." I nodded slowly. "And now we're writing the ending." That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because of fear, but because of clarity. For the first time, the chaos made a kind of sense. Mom's cold detachment, the way she'd changed the subject when we asked about Dad, the blank space where our family history should have been. I kept replaying Alice's words. "The real experiment wasn't on him. It was on you." What did they do to us? The next morning, Ava handed me a flash drive. "Found this in one of Mom's old boxes. Labeled vacation photos, but it's all encrypted. I think you can crack it." She wasn't wrong. It took me 4 hours and some digital sleight of hand, but eventually the files opened. No photos, just audio. Clips, dozens of them, each marked with a number. Each one no more than 10 seconds long. I played the first. A child's voice, mine, crying softly. Then a man's voice. "Do you remember who you are today?" Static. Second clip. Ava, screaming the alphabet backward while someone whispered her name over and over. Third, silence. Then a beep. Then our mother's voice, flat and unreadable. Test Group B showing improved pattern retention under stress cue conditioning. I stopped there, hands shaking, jaw clenched. They didn't raise us. They programmed us. Over the next few days, we tried to act normal. Ava went to work. I stayed busy at the motel. We'd meet in the evenings, cross-referencing data and trying to find anyone that could explain what we were. Because it was becoming clear we weren't just victims of an affair. We were victims of a design. We tracked down one more name from the Institute's personnel list. Dr. Corwin Vass. lead researcher. Last known address, a nursing home in upstate Vermont. We didn't tell anyone we were coming. We just drove. The receptionist told us he didn't get many visitors, that his memory was fragile. But when we mentioned our last name, something shifted in her face. He doesn't talk much anymore, she said, but I'll let him know you're here. He looked like he'd once been tall. Now he was folded in on himself, like gravity had grown tired of waiting. White hair, translucent skin, but his eyes, sharp, alert, watching us like puzzle pieces trying to fit together. You're her daughters, he said before we spoke a word. Ava and I froze. You remember us? I remember the project, he said. The guilt never lets you forget. What did you do to us? I asked. He closed his eyes. Not what we planned. The theory was clean, elegant, memory plasticity, emotional rewiring. We were going to help children adapt to trauma, erase pain. But? He opened his eyes again. They shimmered. But we didn't erase pain. We buried it. And when it came back up, it came back wrong. Ava stepped forward. Are we dangerous? He tilted his head. No, you're unfinished. Silence. I don't know what I expected. A cure? An apology? But what I felt was rage. You used us. He nodded. Yes. And our father? He stared at the window. He loved you. He volunteered to protect you. But when he saw what we were really doing, he didn't finish. He didn't have to. We left without another word. By the time we got back to the car, it was snowing. Ava sat in silence, forehead pressed against the window. I watched her for a long time. She looked like me. Same chin, same eyebrows, same shadows under the eyes. But for the first time, she felt like a stranger. That night, the last letter came. Slipped under our motel door. Typed. Crisp. Short. You're getting too close. Stop now, or history will repeat itself. No signature. No return address. Just a single photo paperclipped to the top. It was of us. Ava and I, maybe 6 and 8, in matching red coats, standing outside a building labeled Colden Institute for Cognitive Advancement. In the background, our mother. And next to her, a man with blurred-out features. But I knew that stance. I'd seen it in the mirror every day since I turned 21. I stared at the photo longer than I probably should have. Because that man, that shadow with the familiar stance, wasn't just anyone. It was the man Ava swore she never knew. The man Mom told me was just a donor. The man I'd once drawn in crayon with the caption, "My dad," and got punished for. He wasn't a ghost. He wasn't a mystery. He was right there in the photo, standing beside Mom, holding Ava's hand. I zoomed in on Ava's face. She was smiling. I wasn't. I scrolled through more files, labeled folders full of medical records, school transcripts, development assessments. All Ava's. And all stamped with Colden Institute's logo. There were none for me. No scans, no reports, not even a birth certificate. The closer I looked, the more it became clear. I wasn't part of the project. She was. But that wasn't the part that broke me. It was what came next. A journal entry. From our mother. Typed, but dated and signed. We're moving forward with only Ava. Claire has shown emotional volatility. Not ideal for the program's goals. Ava, on the other hand, is a perfect fit. Polished. Adaptable. Obedient. Obedient. That word echoed in my skull like a gunshot. I scrolled further, eyes blurry, fingers cold. We've started calling Ava our only child when we're in public. It's just easier. I blinked. Then again. And again. Like the words would change if I stared hard enough. But they didn't. They just sat there, quiet and cruel. I wasn't the accident. I was the discard. And Ava knew. Because tucked at the bottom of the journal file beneath sign-offs and summary notes, was a short reply. An email, sent from Ava's address, 4 years ago. If she ever finds out I'm not helping you, this was your choice, not mine. I've done everything you asked. Don't drag me down with you. My breath caught. She wasn't innocent. She wasn't blindsided. She was complicit. I sat frozen, staring at the screen, as my entire childhood snapped into a different shape. The unexplained coldness. The way she always got what she wanted. How she'd look away when I asked about Dad. Or why Mom treated me like a guest in my own home. It wasn't subtle. It was strategy. She played the role. She kept the lie. And when things went south, she pretended to be the collateral. But now I saw her for what she really was. The favored one. The chosen daughter. The keeper of the family's clean image. And I was the threat to it. So they buried me. Emotionally. Socially. Legally. Even the guardianship papers from when Mom died were rigged. Ava had power of attorney. I was just informed. Informed. The way one's told about a weather alert they can't change. I closed the laptop and stood slowly. The air in the room felt heavier now, like the house itself knew I'd broken through. This wasn't about betrayal anymore. It wasn't even about the affair. It was about identity. About theft. Not of money. Not of love. Of existence. They erased me from the story, and Ava helped them write the new one. And now, she was going to read my version. The next morning, I didn't go to work. I didn't text Ava. I didn't respond to Noah's last message. Instead, I got dressed in silence. Jeans, coat, gloves. Not armor, but close. Then I drove. Not to the cemetery, not to the old house. To her house. The one Mom left to Ava in the will. The one I used to think we'd share. The neighborhood was exactly what you'd expect from someone like Ava. Quiet, curated, sterile. I parked down the block and walked the rest. I didn't ring the bell. I used the key under the third flower pot, the same spot she used to tease me for forgetting. Old habits die hard. The house smelled like vanilla and denial. Every surface polished, every object carefully placed. I walked past the photos on the wall. Not a single one of me. Just Ava, Mom, and sometimes that man with his face always half-turned. The new history. She wasn't home. I knew she wouldn't be. Because Thursday mornings were her Pilates then coffee routine, and Ava was a slave to routine. I had time. So I left something on the kitchen island. A folder. Inside. Copies of the emails, the journal entries, a photo of that Colden Institute building, and one final sheet. A letter. You chose silence. You chose comfort. You chose yourself. I choose the truth. You don't get to play the victim in a story you helped write. Don't call me. Don't message me. Don't pretend we were ever sisters. We were lab results. But I was the error you couldn't erase. I didn't sign it. I didn't have to. On the way out, I left the front door unlocked. It felt symbolic. Like I was done pretending there was anything left worth locking in. She called that night. 4 times. I didn't answer. The 5th time, she left a voicemail. No apologies. No admissions. Just trembling breath and one line. Please don't ruin everything. You don't know what I gave up. I stared at the phone until it dimmed. What she gave up? I laughed. Sharp, bitter, joyless. Because Ava never gave up anything. She traded. She maneuvered. She sacrificed me to keep her mask clean. And now? Now the cracks were showing. I didn't go nuclear. I didn't upload the files. I didn't alert the family. There was no courtroom, no press, no scandal. That would have been too easy. Too fast. Instead, I chose erosion. One by one, I contacted the people she built her new life around, colleagues, neighbors, the yoga instructor who called her a light. I told them small truths. Not the full story, just enough to plant a seed. Did you know Ava used to go by another name? She and her sister had a falling out over inheritance, I think. There's some weird stuff about her mom's estate, but I'm not sure it's public. None of it provable, none of it actionable, but all of it plausible. And Ava knew how rumors worked, because she'd once used them to destroy someone else. Now she was on the receiving end. The first time she saw me again was at a charity gala. Not intentional, just cosmic cruelty. I was attending with a friend who worked in publishing. She was there representing the Colden Institute, the same name etched in that cursed photograph. She spotted me across the room, stopped mid-sentence, pale, wide-eyed, like she'd seen a ghost. I didn't flinch, didn't approach, just raised my glass slightly. Cheers, sister. She left early that night. I moved on. Not in the Hollywood way. No big transformation montage, no dramatic haircut. But piece by piece, I rebuilt. I got a new job, different city, different name on the desk. One I chose. I started therapy. Told the whole story, even the ugly parts. And one night, I burned the photo. The one with the red coats and the blurred out man. I watched the edges curl inward, blacken, dissolve. Not erasing the past, just refusing to let it cage me anymore. Months passed. Seasons changed. So did I. Not into someone better, just clearer. I didn't chase happiness anymore. I chased clarity. And eventually it found me. Through someone unexpected. His name was Eli, a paralegal at the firm I joined. Quiet, steady, nothing like Noah. He didn't charm me. He didn't flatter me. He noticed me. And that after everything was radical. One night, over takeout and wine, he asked about my family. I hesitated. He didn't push, just waited. So I told him, not everything, not yet, but enough. Enough to test the water. And he said, sounds like survival, not betrayal. It was the first time anyone had used that word survival for what I'd done. Not revenge, not vengeance, not pettiness, just survival. Ava never apologized. Not once. But that didn't surprise me. She was raised to win, not atone. The last time I saw her, it was accidental again. A grocery store aisle. A cart full of things that didn't match her curated image. We locked eyes. She looked tired. And beneath that, scared. I stepped forward, not to speak, not to threaten, just to exist. She turned away, left the cart, walked out, and I realized something. I didn't hate her. Not anymore. I pitied her. Because Ava built her whole life on mirrors, other people's reflections, other people's truths. And I had broken the glass. The Colden Institute? Turns out it shut down quietly 2 years ago. Too many ethics complaints, too many sealed settlements, buried scandals that never made headlines. But I made sure the name resurfaced. Quietly, persistently, through forums, through journalists I knew from my old job. One investigative piece got published, barely noticed by the public, but noticed by the right people. And in the comment section, a single reply under a burner name. Some of us never forgot. Some of us were the experiment. That was all I needed to read. I wasn't alone. My mother died a year later. Heart attack, they said. Ava handled the arrangements. Didn't even tell me until after the cremation. I got a text. It's done. She's gone. I didn't know if you'd want to come. I stared at it for 10 minutes before replying. I already said goodbye, years ago. And that was that. I kept the journal, though. The one I found in Mom's closet. The one with the truth scribbled between grocery lists and wine stains. It reminded me that monsters don't always roar. Sometimes they whisper lullabies and sign report cards. I thought about publishing it once, making everything public. But some ghosts aren't meant for exorcism. Some just need acknowledgement. Eli moved in the following spring. We didn't rush. We didn't perform. He asked me one day if I ever wanted children. I said, I don't know. Because how do you explain to someone that your bloodline feels poisoned? That love for you always came with a contract and a cost? He didn't ask again, but he stayed. And some days, that was enough. One rainy Sunday, I went back to the house. Not Ava's. Ours. The place we grew up. It was for sale again. Some real estate listing that popped up in my email like Fate's algorithm was bored. I parked outside, engine off, wipers ticking. The porch still leaned slightly to the left. The window in the attic still had that crack shaped like a lightning bolt. So many ghosts in those walls. I didn't go in. I just sat there, let it watch me. Then I drove away. That chapter didn't need revisiting. It needed closure. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if Ava had told me the truth when we were kids. If she'd confessed what Mom made her promise. If we'd escaped together. Maybe I would have forgiven her. Maybe we would have fought back. Maybe we'd still be sisters. But she didn't. And we aren't. And life isn't built on maybes. It's built on afters. So here's what happened after. I rebuilt. I forgave, but never forgot. I loved again, differently, carefully. I watched Ava fade, not into obscurity, into discomfort. She still exists. She still posts. But the shine is gone. She's always looking over her shoulder now. And that's the true revenge. Not destruction. Awareness. The knowledge that someone saw behind your curtain and lived to tell about it. I don't hate my past anymore. I just don't worship it. It happened. It shaped me. It didn't define me. And Ava, she'll never know peace. Because she knows I'm out there. Not watching, not waiting, just living. Under my name. On my terms. In the light. And that, more than any sabotage, is the punishment. She has to wake up every day knowing that the version of me she tried to erase not only survived, but outgrew her. I still get the occasional message from someone who knew me before, an old coworker, a college friend. They always open with the same line. I don't know if this is still your number. And I never reply. Not because I'm angry, but because I've accepted that part of me is gone, and she's not coming back. Eli and I bought a small place upstate. Nothing glamorous, just space and silence. A garden where I grow herbs I don't even cook with. A bookshelf with titles I've read 3 times. A porch swing that creaks just enough to feel alive. We don't talk about marriage much. Or kids. But we talk. And that, for someone like me, is sacred. Sometimes I write. Little essays. Half-formed memoirs. I never sign them. Maybe one day I'll publish. Maybe not. Some stories aren't for the world. They're for the wounded version of you who still needs to be heard. Ava sends a Christmas card every year. No note. No return address. Just, from Ava. I don't send one back. But I keep them. All of them. In a drawer marked unfinished. Because that's what we are. And that's okay. I did one last thing, though. Something small. Petty, maybe. But poetic. I donated a bench to the park where Ava used to jog. Had a plaque engraved. For those who mistook silence for weakness, she'll see it one day. Or maybe she already has. Either way, I win. The last dream I had of our childhood? Ava and I are back in those red coats. It's snowing. She turns to me, smiling, handing me a paper crown from a Christmas cracker. I put it on. And for once, just once, she calls me sister without flinching. Then I wake up. And I don't cry. I just breathe. Because healing isn't a moment. It's 1,000 small choices to stop bleeding. And I chose to stop, to breathe, to live, to win quietly.
If that hit you deep, imagine what's coming next.
Subscribe, like, and welcome to Taste of Revenge.